expect to see another great fight between two guys who are in there to win. Both come in with full mindset of champions. Both want to achieve greatness in the sport. They're both very old. They're both getting on. I mean, is Zhang 41 and Joyce is 39? So it sounds strange that they've got world title ambitions, but they have, and they want to challenge the best in the division. But this fight's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough one for Joe Joyce to turn around. I think he needs to reinvent the wheel. He needs to start moving his head off the centre. He needs to roll and dip, and he needs to start boxing a little bit. And he's never done that. He's never shown that in his career. Obviously, he boxes and moves a bit, but his main attribute is coming forward, being super fit and strong, and being unbreakable. And Zhang broke him, closed that eye, and forced that stoppage. So you have to say, if Joyce didn't get injured, what would have happened? Who knows? But this is a great fight, and it's a tough one. And if you're going to ask me to pick a winner, I'm not going to give you an answer just yet.
Okay. Were you surprised, Cole? Because I was surprised in the first fight. I was surprised at how light Joe Joyce came in. He came in a stone and a half lighter than he fought Joseph Parker, where he was very impressive in. And I was surprised by how quick Zhang's hands were and how slow. I know Joe is what he is, but how slow Joe was made to look. Were you surprised by that evening?
I was surprised that he came in lighter and he was slower. It doesn't make any sense. Usually you take a bit of weight off and you gain some speed because of that. But I just thought that Zhang was timing him nicely with that backhand, walking him into it, picking him with a jab, and then timing him with that backhand, and it landed and caused the damage on the eye. And you want Joe Joyce to be able to just get his head off the centre, maybe get his guard up, block a few shots, roll and slip a few shots, but he just doesn't do any of that. He hasn't got it in his arsenal, and you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And what is he, 39 years old?
38.
He's not going to change.
Yeah, 38.
38. So he's not going to change, is he? He's going to come and do what he does and just hope that his fitness and his strength is enough to win. But Zhang, I feel, has got his number, and if I do have to pick a winner,
I was going to say, don't fanny about. You must have an opinion.
Listen, the bookies aren't usually that wrong, are they? I mean, they got it wrong with the Liam Smith. And mind you saying that, did they have Chris Eubank to win that fight with Smith?
No, they had Smith.
They had Smith. They had Smith to win, so they do get it wrong. But I just think that Zhang's the favourite, only ever so slightly.
Do you think? I mean, Joe made a lot, and you will recognise this trait because of the nature of the way you thought. You were a much more skilled practitioner, but his toughness was the big thing that Joe made a lot of noise about first time round, and he bought into a lot of the nonsense about the fact he could take any kind of shots. I mean, do you think with this additional weight that he puts on, that's going to be able to increase significantly the punch resistance? Because he's still going to get hit, isn't he? Because of the very nature of the way that he fights.
Exactly, yeah. Well, it's not going to stop the injury, is it? It's not going to stop the eye from swelling, especially an all round that's been damaged once before can reoccur. Even a cut can reopen, or a fractured eye socket can swell up, and any real damaged closed eye, which he was, it was quite bad. I don't think it was just a superficial injury; it was quite a bad swelling.
Yeah, it was big, yeah.
So there's always a danger of that reoccurring. We saw that with Chris Eubank against Cole Thompson as well. We saw his eye, the eye injury that he had reoccurred, and there's always a danger of that. And Zhang will be targeting that. So if I was advising Joe Joyce, it's really difficult to kind of give an answer and say, this is what you should do. I do think that it's coming in a little bit heavier, because the punch absorption, yes. And as he's pushing forward and leaning on Zhang, and Zhang does blow a gasket after 5-6 rounds, he just starts to slow down, he just starts to feel that age is 41 years old. So
he's got to keep out of the way then, hasn't he?
Not get hit early on, make Zhang work. But to make him work and not get hit early on, he's going to have to defend himself. And he's got no defence. He's got no head movement. So if he's walking into shots, I feel like the writing's on the wall for Joe Joyce. And this is a must-win fight for him as well. This is a fight he's got to win. Otherwise, where does he go? Back-to-back defeats against Zhang.
But yeah, it sounds, Carlos, as if you're favouring Zhang to win it.
Yeah, listen, if I was lumping a bet on it, I'd say Zhang's the smart money. But it's a two-horse race, anything can happen. And Joe Joyce would have learned from that. He was devastated from the loss. He didn't make a big song and dance about it, but you know deep down he's got world title ambitions and he wants to be in the mix and start earning big money before he retires. So he's going to come and do everything he can to get this win and really leave it all in there. But Zhang's waiting for him, and he's very capable. He's a good fighter, Zhang.
Carl, Conor Benn returns on Saturday night. He's going to fight in Orlando, Florida against Orozco, this Mexican individual. In your view, and the significant aspect of this, Carl, after everything that's happened, it's not here in the UK, it's over in the US. In your view, should he be fighting at all?
Well, listen, if I was managing him and if I was training him, I'd want him busy and I'd want him out there training and fighting. I want him fighting and competing because he needs to. It's been 18 months. It's too long. He needs to be out there. So, and because I want him to see back in action and want him to see him in meaningful fights moving forward, then yes, I do think he should be fighting. But I can see the flip side of that, which I know you're going to pull me up on. He's been banned by the British Boxing Board of Control, or UCAD. He's failed a drug test, and the integrity of the sport will be in question because of him fighting. So it's a bit of a catch-22, really.
And in what direction do you go then? Personally, and I know that you're a great exponent for your own sport. You want the standards to be as high as they possibly can be. You want rules to be observed. I'm sure you do, Carl. In your view, should he be fighting?
Listen, absolutely. Well, if he's legitimately and legally allowed to fight and he's been licensed in the state of is it Florida, he's fighting, then he should be fighting. But what he does need to do almost immediately after having this fight, which is just a tune-up fight, he's fighting someone who's ranked. I mean, it's not even worth mentioning his ranking. This guy can't lace Conor Benn's boots. It's just to keep him busy. It'll be like a 1 or 2 round sparring session. But when he comes back from this fight, I'd like to see him sit in front of the British Boxing Board of Control and get this issue resolved. And then I'll be smiling, I'll be happy. Otherwise, then I'll be very disappointed.
I mean, you have strong views on lots of things, Carl. You must have. I know what you just said there, which is you'd like to see him sit in front of UK, but you must have strong views about this because ultimately, what we've got is a situation where no one wants to vilify Conor Benn. And whether myself and Eddie Hearn get on is incidental, but I think the actual issues of the way he's been handled and the fact that he's got himself out from underneath solely on a jurisdiction issue brings a sport that you have a great deal of regard for, has made you a Hall of Famer with your talent, of course, into a disrepute. He really must, Carl, mustn't he? He really must go and clear his name rather than find a way to get round it.
I think he has to, yes. I mean, because he's early on in his career and we want to see him build in Britain as a British fighter, I think he has to go in front of the board and clear his name and, then move on with his career. But Tyson Fury's not got a British Boxing Board of Control licence, but that's the argument that I've been seeing on some of the comments that will be coming after this. But he's a world champion. He fights a lot overseas, and he
served a ban, Carl, though, didn't he? Whether it was a ridiculous ban during whether it was one of those ridiculous bans when he actually wasn't fighting, but he still got sanctioned, didn't he?
He did, yeah. And this is why I just think Conor Benn needs to get on with it because he's wasting time and his career's at stake now. He needs to be moving on. And these bans, I mean, some of the bans, I don't think they're heavy enough. I'm not saying punish Conor Benn more, but Tyson Fury served the ban when he was already not fighting because he fights once or twice a year. Canelo Alvarez, 6 months ban for a failed contaminated drugs test. Povetkin, I mean, the list goes on and on over the years. Roy Jones Jr., there's top fighters over the years that have failed drugs test and then.
How good do you think he is, Carl? How good do you think how good do you think Conor Benn is? Do you think he's a potential world title winner?
Listen, I love his fight against Chris Algier. I know Algier was past his best and whatever, but I was with Algier when Canelo Alvarez fought Billy Joe Saunders, and he was in the gym and he was training hard. He was running in the morning because he was getting himself ready. He was still in the mix, still fighting. All right, it was at the end of his career, but Conor Benn wiped him out, obliterated him. Yeah. He's aggressive. He's a really exciting prospect. He's good to watch. There's not many fighters now that walk to the ring and make the back of your hairs on your neck stand up. Yeah. Conor Benn's not got that name. He's got that mindset and that attitude where when he gets in the ring, you know he goes in there to destroy his opponent. Yeah. And it's exciting to see. You want to watch him do well. So I think he's a great prospect. I think he's a fantastic talent. I know he didn't have a big amateur career, but I think he can do very well as a professional. But he has to get this dark cloud away from his head and move on with his career. And he's only going to do that by going in front of the Board of Control.
More importantly, Carl, how's your paddle game?
Hey,
still writing those checks you can't cash.
Listen, I was going to say, don't worry about the paddle game.
Don't worry about it.
You need to start worrying.
I'll see you on Saturday. We'll have that conversation.
Carl, you'll be concentrating on your co-commentary game on Saturday night. Carl Froch with us, and Carl on duty for Talksport on Saturday night.